Good afternoon, teachers. I'm Vandana Sharma. I welcome you all to this session on behalf of Cambridge University Press and Assessment. Today is our fourth session of our series Empowering Educators. The session focuses on environmental science, caring for our planet, and today's topic is Introduction to Environmental Science for Kids. As the session is on webinar mode and your access to mic and camera is disabled, I would request all of you to please use chat box and Q&A option for any queries during the session. We will be taking all your queries from the chat box and Q&A. Today we have with us Ms. Surbhi Arora. She is going to conduct today's session. So I'll start with ma'am's introduction and then I'll hand over it to ma'am. She is an award-winning edu artist with more than 15 years of experience in the field of education. She is a IMC alumni and has pursued her certification in education leadership from there. Being an ardent learner, she is continuously learning and has developed interest out of her domain in the field of future technologies. Keeping her studies, she is a certified blockchain developer from IIIT Hyderabad and cybersecurity expert from IIT. She has created multiple teaching methodologies and some of her modules include teaching maths with music, teaching science and maths with stories, how to be a storyteller, teaching as an artist, and many more. Presently, she works with principals, teachers, students, and parents in the field of school management, teacher training, career counseling, and parenting, respectively. She has trained more than 10,000 teachers till date and has hosted almost 1,000 hours of online and 3,000 hours of offline training with various schools from India and abroad. Thank you, Surbhi ma'am, for taking up this session.
Welcome, Vandana. Thank you.
Teachers, one more request. If any of you unable to join this session on Zoom platform, we have posted the link of our YouTube handle in the chat box. So you can join us on our YouTube handle. The session is being live streamed on YouTube. Thank you. Ma'am, you can start.
Yeah, thank you, Vandana. Thank you very much. Welcome, teachers. Welcome to the session. And today we have this beautiful session on Introduction to Environmental Science. I'm pretty sure all of you are a lot aware about this topic, and it was quite difficult for me to limit myself in the duration of 60 minutes and bring information on environmental science, considering that I'm talking with all experts in this room today. However, I've tried my level best to talk about certain basics and certain theories and whatever I could bring out of the best interest for all of you in this session. So once again, I welcome all of you on behalf of Cambridge University Press and Assessment. And also, if somebody who has met me previously is there, just a sweet hi to all of you. I am not seeing a lot of names and everything in the chat group today. I would love you to just populate the chat group as much as possible. Keep on sending messages, keep on sending hi and hello to everyone so that we can do it. Okay, so there is no chat box. I think the chat box is not activated. And is my voice?
Ma'am, voice is
I have
clear,
feedback
and
from
we have
somebody.
enabled the chat box as well. Voice is clear, and we have
Okay.
enabled the chat box as well.
Okay, thank you very much. So fine. So good. I think yeah, now I can see people are there, so it makes me happy about it. So hi, welcome, Ruma, Taneza, Sunita. I cannot take everyone's name, but Sahika. So welcome everyone, and happy to see all of you over here. So let's go ahead. I have just in order to just highlight myself once again, I just wanted to keep my name with this tigress image. I just loved it. So I have kind of emphasized myself once again on the screen. So I'm your host, Surbhi Arora. Maybe you will need my name by end of the session to share some feedback. Okay, and for those who are joining us on YouTube, please share your queries there. The team is there and they will quickly pick up your questions and they can bring to me and I can answer the questions in the session for all of you. So let's go ahead. And now before we go further, I have a small question for all of you. And that's on the next screen. I want you to read it and give me an answer in the chat box. The question is simple. What is the first word that comes in your mind when you hear the word environmental science? The first word, I don't need paragraph. I just need the word nature, okay, conservation, sustainable greenery. We have nature surrounding air, environment, trees, surrounding earth, cool environment, green nature, taking care of that peace, oh, beautiful peace. And then surrounding joy, biotic, abiotic. So we got technical here. So we have a number of words which are coming in your mind. I agree. The word environment in itself is such a difficult word to kind of have a common answer for all of us. However, whenever I think of the word environment, trust me, the first thing which comes in my mind, and I'm going to make you jealous, showing you a few pictures now, is these pictures. These are my pictures from Leh Ladakh and Keelong. So some beautiful images. I could not get all of them for sure. But when I think about environment, for me, hills is one thing which kind of, is on top of my mind. And I kind of just thinking about the whole environment. At times, this environment is something which we are, going to the nature and which is naturally created when we talk about it. Yes, Kashmir is obviously one beautiful place. And then there are times when we actually artificially create this environment around us. And there are few images that I've kept from the artificial places that I've gathered these images. I'm a tree lover. So I will just go everywhere and then I click pictures of trees and bring it back to me and I just love them for some reason. So I just get them. And this is what all of us do. We just have environment where we go and which is naturally built up in itself. And then at times we just bring it to our homes and we just kind of have this environment that we create around ourselves, which is at times green. Now, environment can have multiple things, but we will stick to one definition when we start talking about it very soon. Now, this environment can be artificially created the way we are talking about, artificial in the garden setting created. However, these days we have gone crazy and we are talking about greenery altogether. We are talking about the green flats or green workspaces and it's green everywhere. And these are few images from the Bangalore airport where you see greenery within the airport and it's beautiful. And it just reminds you that even concrete places can be green and can show nature and can actually bring some natural tendency in front of you. And it was a beautiful experience for me to be there and look at it and be part of it. Now, while we are talking about the environment, it's not just the green, the plants, the everything that we are talking about. It's also way beyond that. And we also have ourselves as part of this ecosystem, but we also have a lot of animals and a lot of things that are part of the ecosystem. So I remember recently in Hyderabad, there was Animal Fest. And then we went there, and then there are some beautiful things when we bring animals into our setting and make them part of the setting because people are not going and watching them. And as you see over here, there are these lizards which are getting introduced, which are also part of the environment. There are aquariums. All this is also part of the environment. And at times, we ourselves go and be part of this ecosystem again. And we go scuba diving, we go places just or bird watching just to be part of that environment. Now, all this and everything is the environment I'm talking about today and the environmental studies that we are going to discuss today. And that's where I'm limiting our scope on discussion on this session today. So this is the environment I wanted to discuss with you. This was all the interaction I wanted to discuss with you. Now, while we go from there, I can see a lot of members have already joined and have shared beautiful wishes with everyone. Now, while we are talking about it, it becomes important that we also talk about a technical definition when it comes to environmental science. Now, when I started thinking about that, what should be a beautiful definition of environmental science, I thought, why not take help from somebody which is like a useful resource for all of us? And for me, that useful resource is every time Google. So I asked Google, okay, fine, what do you define environmental science for me? And it was very clear, an interdisciplinary field that integrates scientific methods and disciplines to understand the real world. So when we're talking about environmental science, we are not just talking about the environment, we are talking about the integration of a lot of subjects. Now, this may seem simple right now, but I think as we go in the session, I will take you through certain integrations, certain discussions, why scientific implementations are needed. I can see still a lot of messages from people of various schools and introducing themselves and sharing everything with everyone. Thank you, Lalita, and thank you, Anu, and thank you, Pallavi. Welcome to the session, all of you. I may not have opportunity to name everyone, otherwise we will end up session just in hellos for all of you. But let's go ahead from here and let's talk about more while we're talking about it. While I wanted to bring a concrete definition, the interesting part is things which are simple are always most difficult to define. So I thought, let me just look at an expert video, which is pretty short and can give me an introduction of environmental science in a better way. So I kind of, borrowed this video, and I'm going to give credit, obviously, to the university professor who is sharing it. But I would like you to hear it. I hope the audio is audible to all of you.
No, ma'am, no.
The audio is not audible. Okay, I think I have to just change my share settings, but I think I will skip it for now, and maybe I will get back to you on this video later. But if I have to give you a briefing on what environmental science is, it's more about the interdependency of environment and different things in the environment on each other. And we will talk about interdependency more while we go proceed in this session. So let's go ahead and let's kind of enjoy more. Now, while we are over here, and I can see that you people love to answer, so let me give you a question. In the next three slides, I have three questions for you. Now, these are riddles, and which are environmental related riddles. I want to see who is the fastest one, and then we will see which is the school which is the fastest one, and from which place and which teacher. Okay, so you can just go back and tell everyone that you were the first one to answer. So let me see how fast you are. So I'm going to give you a question which is coming up right away in front of your eyes. So the question goes like this. I'm so sorry. Yeah. I flow from high places to low, can carve valleys and create canyons, and am essential for all life. Who am I? River. Okay, let me see the first answer. Who was the first one to give me this answer? Sonal Bhargava. Great. So you have like all kudos, but I see there are 90 messages which I can just see coming back and forth, back and forth. But the correct answer as per my riddle was river. Yeah, I think all of us are. It's right, right, sir? Okay, I didn't get this answer. It's river. Okay. Now, so we have one winner already. Now let's see if Sono can actually keep up the pace and give us a correct answer in the next question also. And people who are on YouTube, you also continue attempting all the questions and answers. We'll go back and check who's the fastest one over there later. Okay, so let's go for the next question, which says, I can light up the sky during a storm and I'm followed by thunder. Who am I? This one is easy. This my 9-year-old one also tells me. Okay, I see a lot of answers coming in. My goodness, I think no, this time we have, let me see. Yes, this time we have, if I'm pronouncing your name correctly, Loyola Gooms. So she is the one which has brought the correct answer, but let me see what people are giving me answers. Clouds, rain, lightning. I'm getting a lot of answers right now. But Loyola was the first one. Congratulations, Loyola. You are the first one. Unfortunately, I don't have any cookies or candies to give to you, but yeah, that's the correct answer. Okay. Now, the final question. And if Sonal and Loyola actually become the fastest ones, I think they will be the winner. One of them can be the winner of the quiz that we are having right now. So let's go with the next question, which says, I'm known for my slow movement and spending most of my life hanging upside down in trees. Who am I? I at times feel this is my soul animal. What do you? It's an animal. Okay. Let me look for all the answers. The answers are like bat, snail, ape, and sloth. Okay. And then we have again sloth. And then we have sloth, bat, owl, sloth, bear. So the correct answer, let me see. I think we have people flying still. There was a keyword which was slow movements. You keep on telling children to identify the keywords. I think most of you missed the keyword, which was slow movement. So if you look at the keyword, the correct answer is sloth and the correct answer is sloth, and the winner is Priyadarshini. Now, I saw someone giving an answer three per. I think Priya, I like this answer also, but I will go with my answer, which I decided and I finalized by writing this question. So yes, when we talk about environment, there are multiple things you can talk about. You can talk about animals, plants, and everything. However, while we are talking about the beauty of the environment that we live in, it also becomes important that we also realize that there is a small caveat to this whole situation. And that is also very important for us to remember. And that becomes an important part in our environmental studies that we do, which is talking about hazards or disasters that we see. Now, when we teach disasters, they look something like this. There's a thunderstorm, there's a lightning coming in, there's a tsunami, there's a big wave, there's an earthquake, there's earth shaking, or we have flood, there's water flowing in. So you just talk about disasters in a way that, yes, there are natural calamities when we are talking about, and they're not good, they're harmful, and there's a lot of things which happens with the kids. But in true fact, how do disasters look like? Disasters look something like this. They are painful. They are horribly painful. The after effect when we look at disasters is actually painful. They're not that easy. Wildfires kind of kill a lot of vegetation and animal settlement every year across the world. When we talk about hurricanes, tornadoes, or all these disasters that happen, they kind of displace life to a great extent, and not just human life. We're talking about all kinds of life forms which are there. They are dangerous. And that's why it becomes extremely important as teachers of environmental science that we keep on coming back to this topic and keep on talking about environment with our kids. Because unfortunately, we are an important contributor in creating this situation. And we may not agree to it, but we are. And I have database which kind of suggests it. I will take you there. Now, when we talk about it, this is a before and after image. This is the before image of the settlement, and this is an after image of the settlement after one of the natural disaster happened over here. But when we have to understand and the reasons and how things are changing, let's go and take a look at a very interesting data and go there while speaking to our kids. So this is the data which I've kept on my screen. Now, this is the data from 1900 to 2000. On the website where I picked up this data from, this is the dynamic data. So you can have, kind of change your graphs and countries and regions. I will share the link with you at the later stage while we are ending this session. But if you see carefully over here, can you just tell me what kind of change you are looking at the data starting from 1900 to 2020? What a specific highlight is coming in your top of your mind? Any specific highlight? Okay, drafts were one thing. Pretty good you have picked up. Priyadarshini, Pushpa Madhuri, and then Mridula disaster. Kimi is saying yes, decreasing deaths. Very true. And earthquake is one thing that somebody has picked up. There's a climate change. So we have human activity. Yes, Nazar, you are quite nearby. Food shortage, which was there. Extreme temperature. Drought was one thing which is, kind of, pinching in our eyes because of the very bold pink color that we have on the screen. Yes, it's there. So let's talk about it. If you observe this chart quite carefully, you will see that 1920s and then, way before 1960 also, even India had a very strong famine during this phase. One of the major reasons for deaths used to be famine, used to be basically, droughts and floods. That used to be major reason. But over the time, that reason has kind of reduced. Now, when I talk about droughts, the major reason is not that many number of people are dying because of hunger these days, or we have better way to kind of cope up with these situations. Yes, drought reduced over time, but temperature rose. Very good. And even Sonal, you have kind of concluded what I wanted to say over here. But when we talk about floods, specifically floods, we were able to build dams. We were able to kind of control the environmental thing and build better mechanisms to cope up with such situations and help out people in those situations. So there are better rescue mechanisms which are there. However, there are certain rescue mechanisms which are not there. When you specifically talk about glacial lake outbursts, or when we're talking about the change in the environment, the temperature which is rising, extreme temperature. Look at 2020. we are talking about climate changes, we are talking about global warming. Yes, that becomes an important agenda to discuss and to talk about. That is the reason in today's discussion, I've kept a small section as a big header in my division of environmental studies into four subsets. And I've kept it because I could not ignore the section of climate change. I will take you to this website once we are done. We approach the end of the session, and I will take you to the website and actually show you what kind of changes are we talking about. Now, while we go further from here, I want to show you something, which is how interdependent we are in areas. Now, many times people say, areas, ma'am, it's an easy topic and it's not that tough. It's an easy thing to do. There's nothing to teach in EVS. I'm surprised by that. I'm surprised at that. I had to search, literally go and search one day that, okay, what do environmentalists do? We're talking about there's nothing much to share. It's an easy thing, but are we going into the depth of sharing things with the kids? So that was one thing which was there. So, Vandana, I think few of the teachers want to join YouTube. Can you share the link once again? Now, coming back to this topic of how interdependent we are. For instance, if a community decides to use coal or electricity as the cheapest source available, this gets related to economics. The coal must be mined under the soil, geology. The coal must be transported, engineering. And its coal is part of our ecosystem, it's part of the EVS studies that we're doing. When it burns and creates all the fumes and pollution, it's chemistry. When there's acid rain, it's meteorology, or when it's acid stresses plants, it's ecology, and when there are laws passed and you should not be doing, it's politics. I could not figure out a single subject which is not getting affected when we are talking about EVS. And that's why it becomes one of the most important topics to discuss and one of the most important sessions to have a session upon, specifically together. So what I've done is, for your benefit, I have divided into ecology and ecosystems. We're talking about natural resources and conservation. We will talk about pollution, environment, and health. And then we will also talk about climate change and global warming. So these are the four subsections in which I have tried and divided everything to make it quite easier for all of you. We'll go from here and we'll go further. Let's talk about the first section, which is ecology and ecosystems. Now, when we talk about ecology and ecosystems, as we can say, I think I don't have to go deep into the definitions because I am assuming that I have all teachers with myself and the basics are clear, but I would still like to keep some section of it while I'm doing it. When we talk about ecology, we are focusing on the study of organisms and their interaction with each other. However, when we are talking about ecosystems, we are talking about their further interaction as a desert, as an ocean, as freshwater systems into the bigger spectrum. Ma'am, please explain how to describe ecosystems in grade 3. Ramani, I would just show them pictures. I would just take the pictures to them, or I think you want deeper into the activity section, which I was not planning to cover on this one. But I think I will just take a big sheet and I will keep on adding things onto it. So I will just start with, I will take a big cardboard and take some toys and I will keep it. So first, I will add a plant to it. Then I will add, a snake to it. Then I will add make a food chain to it. Then I may add the environment, if it's a desert, if it's a snow, and then the interaction. I think I will bring my ecosystem like this. I will start step by step. So that's the proceeding I may do when I'm doing it in initial stages. But trust me, I think the grade 3 people, they understand ecosystem pretty fast, which I have filled, or I just take them to pictures, or I show them a lot of videos which shows comparisons on how you can show the comparisons in grade 3. I hope that answers your questions in the limited time we have. Now, why do we talk about ecosystems, and why do we talk about the interactions over here? Basically, we are talking about interaction between living organisms, humans, and their physical environment. We talk about the complexity, the biodiversity. We are able to, I love the second one, which is important for me. We encourage responsible environment stewardship. We all are we have to be like stewards to how we are taking care of this environment and carrying one thing from one place to another, or bringing that interaction amongst people. Or we're talking about intricate, kind of bonds that we're building with the ecosystem. However, there is one statement which is on my screen, on the next screen, which will give you a pretty good idea of what is ecosystem. So that this statement kind of concludes everything. We can talk about it, in a philosophical manner for a long time, but I think this statement kind of says everything that I want to share. The flaw of ecology is that everything is related to everything else. That's the flaw, that everything is related to everything else. Now, while we are doing it, I would love to share an interesting theory which is there and a case study with all of you, and then let's have a discussion on it. And I have a question coming up for all of you. Now, this particular theory talks about tragedy of commons. I will give you an introduction to you first, and then I will give you the case study or the situation to give an answer to me. Now, the tragedy of commons says a great deal of progress has been made since birth of modern environmentalists. But many environmentalists are still discussing about the impact of it or rage on it. So there is a tragedy of commons which says short-term interest of individual versus long-term interest of civilization and the earth itself. Just remember this statement, and that is a tragedy of commons. This statement will help you in figuring out a query that I will actually ask you after 2 slides. So the statement says short-term interest of individuals versus long-term interest of civilization and earth itself. Now, this statement is important to understand the tragedy of common. Now, the word common here is not to the individual. The word common is talking about the common space, common sharing space that we have with people. So if you have a common playground, which you are sharing as a society, that is the common. That is the tragedy of common. It's not common man. It's not at all common man. We are not going into the social part of it specifically. It's a tragedy of common. It's talking about the common place which people are using. For instance, atmosphere is a common place for us. So in the next slide, you get to know the tragedy of commons is likeliness of commons are being used. For example, the atmosphere and oceans. These are the common places that all of us are using. So that becomes, and that is something we cover up in the tragedy of commons. Now, what I have for you in the next slide is basically a question. I want you to just spend 1 minute looking at it, understanding the question properly,
Ma'am,
and
sorry
then
to
giving me an
interrupt.
answer.
Sorry to
Yeah.
interrupt. I think we have received response. Voice is cut, but I think you just need to slow down the pace little bit. I think that's the reason you must be experiencing this. वैसे तो I think voice is clear, no issues in that.
I think if it's all of you facing the issue, then you can tell me. But I think
Voice is clear, but if you can just slow down the pace a little bit, that's all.
I was going slow today. Okay, fine, I will do that. So Sheetal, I think you have to go back and check your cut connection once again. Okay, let's go back and let's see the next slide. And I want all of you to try and attempt this question. Okay, a lot of you are saying, but it's fine, but explain more slowly. Oh, okay. I want all of you to look at this particular slide and try and attempt this question. So the case study is there are 2 small villages. Both consist of sheep farmers who raise and sell sheep to a nearby city. The first village has an unregulated shared pasture for grazing. The second village basically passes a law assigning each farmer same section of the pasture. Now the question for you is, which is more likely to experience resource depletion? So I have a lot of, think again, you have opportunity to change your answer also. The question is on the screen. You can take a look at the question. So the first one says that basically the farmers are using the land for grazing of sheep and raising their sheep. The first one is not regulated. The second one is regulated by fencing. And we have, kind of told and assigned each farmer that your land. Now, which one is more likely to experience resource depletion? I see a very interesting thing that many of you are answering as second. Some of you are answering first. And because you're answering it first and second, I want you to give me the reasons for second and for first before I give the answer. Before I share the answer with all of you. Okay, would anyone like to share an answer with me? So first, because they are not following the rule. Okay. it is not regulated because more farmers are assigned to the first, second one. Okay. They will eat it all, the second will stay longer because they have regulated. Okay. So I will just give you the correct answer. Or I think there are mixed opinions. You can see what others are answering. But the correct answer is the one which will experience a resource depletion is the first one. It is more like to say that supposedly there is a big farmland in which you ask everyone to grow vegetables and grow everything and tell them whosoever likes can have a vegetable and can use it. So what will happen? You will not be bothered about that is the other person getting it or not, and you will go pick it up and you will just use it. However, you're not even bothered about replenishing that soil because you are not the only one in charge to it. You will always think that other person can do that job. However, in the second one, because it is regulated, so what will happen? The farmers will personally take care of that particular section of land and make sure that the resources are not depleted in that section. That is the tragedy of the common. So what happens if we own a land and we own a piece of land and we take care of it, we are very much careful about that. I have to clean it. For example, I will clean my house, but I will throw all the garbage or extra things on the side on the road, and I'm not bothered because it's a common area. But I will be bothered if that same thing happens inside my house. So that is known as the tragedy of commons, that we usually are not that respectful and the resources get depleted faster than they're replenished in an area which is common and non-regulated. And that's why it makes sense. Okay, yeah, so that's how it makes sense over here. Now let's go ahead and go further into the second sub part that we wanted to discuss, which was about natural resources and conservation. Now we talk about natural resources because I hope you like my alligator which came running over here. Why do we want to study it and why do we want to talk about it? Yeah, so what we exactly talk about it over here is there are three things which I want to think about. We are talking about the sustainable management of resources such as water, soil, and other forests. We are talking about renewable resources. And then we talk about understanding the importance of conserving natural resources for generation to generation. We all would have seen so many videos talking about, this kids, and this is one of the famous United Nations speech that happened, a child talking about that I'm worried that I will not be left with any land or anything to survive. I think the same thing for my kids also, that maybe I have capacity of some good fresh air and some good food, but my kids in the future generations, they will not have anything. So I am kind of worried about that. Now, if we start thinking in that direction, do we genuinely feel that there will be a situation when nothing will be left? The interesting thing about human understanding is we all feel that we will never get extinct. I think the animals who were there in the forest felt the same thing, that we will never get extinct, and we know what keeps on happening. We all feel that no, we will always remain. Now the problem towards it is that we right now know approximately. If I talk about loss of biodiversity, when we say that the complete biodiversity just went away, and there has been some 5 major known cases of mass level extinction that we know in Earth's history. And the most recent one is just 65 million years old. Now, those of you feel that 65 million years is such a long time, then go back and talk about the billion years of Earth history that we have, starting from its creation. So 65 billion years is nothing compared to that relative reference. Now, it talks about cause 75% species from the kind of Earth to vanish away. Now, when we talk about it, we just feel, okay, it may not be possible and we don't think about it. Now, however, when we go further in it and talk about conservation, this short-tailed hopping mouse is now extinct in Australia. And what exactly happened is an interesting term which we need to know, which is background rate. People, just be honest, am I that fast today? Nasser, you are saying that I'm faster. Others, I'm being pretty slow. Nasser, so I have mixed opinion of yes and no. I will try to control. More slow, Akanksha. Okay. I need to have some kind of training on myself. Okay. So I will just reduce my pace further and try to be comparatively slow. Okay. So now we talk about this background rate says, assuming no catastrophic event occurs, extinction normally takes a very slow rate. and this is known as the background rate. Normal background extinction rate of mammals is 1 in every 200 years. So they say 1 in every 200 years becomes extinct. However, if you read the third line, Australia has experienced 27 mammal extinctions since 1788. Now the rate was 1 in 200 years. We are talking about 27 mammal extinctions since 1788. That is the problem that we're talking about. The background rate is actually kind of reducing, and we are kind of feeling it more like an alarming situation for all of us. And that's why it becomes an important topic for us to keep on talking about natural resources and their conservation with our kids. And that's why environmental science becomes a very important topic for all of us to discuss about. The third area, which becomes important while we introduce environmental science to our kids, is pollution and environmental health. Teachers, I would like to still bring in your notice that this session, we are just talking about introduction to environmental science to our kids. So we are just discussing basics and making them understand that environmental science is a beautiful subject, and it is not just a subject, but it's a duty to understand it, because ultimately it is a personal impact that we are going to suffer in future if anything happens wrong. So yes, Nazit, your statement is pretty correct that it is going to have new disasters if we continue in this path going further. Yeah. Going further, let's talk about pollution and environmental health. When we talk about it, we talk about examining how pollutants affect air, water, soil, and living organisms. We talk about strategies to reduce pollution and mitigate the impact on environment and human health. We talk about raising awareness. We talk about motivating policies that we can have. Now, while this all looks beautiful, I love this interesting part where we all have these banners of say no to pollution, say no to this, and when all these debates happen in schools and all these competitions happen, and then people are fighting, you're spoiling the environment, you're doing this and you're doing that. And then all of us are sitting in our cars and going back to home. Now, one can say this is hypocrisy, but one cannot even deny that it's necessity. So when we talk about the pollution factor, it's a very interesting debate, and you should have such debates with your kids. Now, while we're talking about such debates, what I've done is I've created a case study for all of you. I want you to read that case study and then give me your opinion, share your opinion in the chat section, because then I will share my further opinions related to it. And let's have this case study. And I'm sharing this case study in a very good number, like we have reached right now in webinar with number of participants. So let me see how many of you will have. And I am being honest. Be honest with your responses. There is no judgment. There's no correct and incorrect answer to this question. This is an open-ended question. So it says, in Riverside Town, the government proposed the construction of a new expressway to improve transportation and boost the local economy. The planned route would cut through the Silverwood Forest, home to several endangered species and a popular recreational area for the town's residents. Now, proponents argue that the expressway would reduce traffic congestion, create jobs, and stimulate economic growth. Opponents, however, raise concern about the irreversible damage to biodiversity, the loss of green space, and the impact on local wildlife habitats. The question is, faced with the dilemma of supporting development or conservation, how should the community and decision makers evaluate the expressway project? Should the economic benefit of the expressway take precedence over the environmental and social cost of cutting through Silverwood Forest? Ratna, the question is on the screen. It is a big question, so it will become slightly difficult for me to repeat it. Can you please read it? So Mridula says that we should have measures for sustainable development. So we need a very black and white answer. Do you think that the road should be created or should not be created? Hi, Pooja from Sri Krishna School, Vapi. I had a chance to visit Vapi once in one of the schools. Nice place, but hot. Keeping a balance between the community and sustainable development. Rinko says, Nazar says expressway can be itself a green says. Nazreen says as well as social cost is higher. Okay, Hina says should be created. Mampa says should be created. Asha says conservation of biotic and abiotic life. Okay. Priya Vardhani says to oppose expressway. Okay. Construction highways, good idea. Should be created keeping the environment in mind. Ritu says, okay, because both are important. According to me, the number of plants which are growing can cut plants. So I have Roshni's detailed answer. Good. Reserved space tourism have expressway. Okay, Rishava, this is like an interesting answer. Okay, should be created, but keeping the environment in mind. Don't cut trees if possible. Okay. So I think all of you have given some interesting answers. Now, this is like one question. It's kind of, and a lot of people are teaching EVS, like you are EVS teachers, and you don't have a similar answer. That's an interesting part, and that's the interesting part. I was reading a book by the name of Wisdom of Crowds. So how we all think may not or may not match most of the time. Now, so we all are talking about different answers. Let me just bring a case study to you, which is almost similar to what kind of things I've shown to you. So there actually happened a situation like this, and there was a case study related to it. And let me actually show that to you. So let me take you to that case study, and post that I will get you the answer. So we have this. So this is HHE debate. Now this is an interesting case study. The debate would about whether to build a dam in HHE Valley or not. So this was the debate which said that do you want to build a dam in HHE Valley or not? Was one of the first big debates between these two philosophies. So there are two kinds of philosophies. I will elaborate on these philosophies more when we go further here. So there are, anthropocentrists which were saying, argued that San Francisco needed the water, and this was by far the most viable opinion. Now, there were ecocentrists which were saying, argued that this violated the very purpose of the federal parks were to be preserved ecosystem untouched by human hands. Now, if you look at both their statements, they both look genuine. So this is a situation in life when you feel that both the parties are actually correct, and it's difficult to pick between any one of them. Now, before we go to what happened in that situation, let's see what happened here. So, what is basically this term? Anthropocentrism words comes mostly from the word human. Human-centered philosophy, it will always keep the human interest and well-being first. And it advocated the building of dams. When we talk about ecocentrism, it is nature-centered. It will always favor the nature, and it advocated the need to leave the valley untouched. Now, this debate was interesting in itself. Okay, thank you, Amarjeet. You have planted 50 plants this year. Okay, so Matsuri, you are very much near to what we are going to talk about. So we talk about this particular thing that happened on the next slide. The dam was eventually constructed. I think rarely we have seen situations when the dam was not constructed. Most of the cases when debates have happened, the dam got constructed. The justification is important. See, it's important when you hear debates, you hear both the parties and realize that what both the parties said. And your opinion may match or not, but it's important to have an open mind, listening to somebody else's opinion, to have a better judgment and not be biased just because of your personal opinion. And as teachers, we cannot show biased things. We have to bring both the parties into the classroom and ask students to think whom they would feel was took the correct call. And the first step is ask them whom do they feel is the correct call, or ask them what they would have done in that situation if they were representing that party. So that was something which they can do. Now, where conflicting interests must be reconciled, the question should always be answered from the standpoint of the greatest good of the greatest number in the long run. That's what the whole philosophy was taken. So it's always the greatest good of the greatest number in the long run, which is taken into consideration. Now, this is something we always question when it comes to ethical views on the environmental science. So that's another thing. I will just stand up for a while, not able to sit for that long. Okay, so while we go further from there, let's talk about a few more things. And the final section of the whole discussion, which was climate change. Now, when we talk about climate change and global warming, I think this is one topic which, if I was in school, I think that was the hot topic of my school days also. And we're still discussing it as one of the hottest topics, but I'm not sure if it will remain as just the hot topic or we will just get together and bring some actionable items for it. So it's more about talking with your kids about exploring the cause and effects of climate change and global warming and greenhouse gases discussing the impact on weather. I just love this part, school starting activities about preaching that we should not cut trees. My little one who is 5 years old, she will come to home and she will make sure that we are planting more plants and we are not throwing garbage and we are not burning stuff. So she accidentally also, if we do some things, she will just act as an environmental police in front of us. And it's all because of all that knowledge she's gathering from the school, which she's bringing back at home. And both my kids are doing that. So I believe I appreciate all the teachers in all the schools who are actually educating in that direction, and we are forcing kids in that direction because of that. Now, again, climate change is also about enhancing the environment, how the environmental issues can be taken care of, and being critical about how kind of solutions we can actually give to our kids. There is a beautiful statement which kind of summarizes this whole thing, which says, if man doesn't learn to treat the oceans and the rainforests with respect, man will become extinct. And that's why we keep on discussing about all these environmental challenges. So, teachers, by far, what we have discussed is that how, when we are introducing ecology or environment or EVS to our kids, we can bifurcate the subject into certain segments. We can talk about the impact. We can discuss the case studies with them. We can talk about the tragedy of commons. We can talk about the other theory, that case study of DAB that we were talking about, and multiple other things. However, what if you have to demonstrate everything by showing it to them that how, with time, things have changed? For that, we have to go much deeper and discuss and showcase few things. So I have few things for you that I wanted to show today. But before that, I wanted to just, out of curiosity, I told you I was looking for the definition of what does an environmental scientist do, and that makes me realize it literally helps the public in making informed decisions. It's not a kind of a job which is that easy. You're talking at the global level, you're talking at the local level, you're talking at the state level, you're talking at big levels. I was recently reading a book which was talking about space economy, and it was talking about 2030. There are plans to go on moon and build civilization and start mining. And the fight is about who owns the right of mining on moon. We're literally talking about the moon. So while we are still not able to preserve what is there on Earth, we have already decided we will go to some other place and maybe want to exploit the same place once again the way we have exploited our country or whatever. So I am not sure how this is going to go, but yes, while right now the environment is just limited to be on the Earth and the atmosphere, but very soon in the books to come, you will also listen about stories or things of what is happening on Mars or what is happening on Moon and how the environment over there is getting impacted. I don't know if how many of you have read a report of a lot of debris from spaceships which are already rotating around on the Earth's orbit, which is there. While we talk about it, now let me just share my screen and show you something pretty interesting. Give me a second, I have to stop sharing and I have to open a website for all of you. I'm so sorry. Yeah, give me a second, teachers. I have kept a link for you, which I wanted to open up. Yeah, so let me directly share the screen. Okay, I don't know how many of you have used this engine, but this is a beautiful engine by the name of Google Earth Time Lapse. Okay, so Kajal is saying, one guy just plugged a flower and my 6-year-old just asked me to do so. I remember I was just picking up stems of a dried tree and my daughter kind of, he started disliking me since then. Okay, so let me show this one to you. Okay. So maybe many of you have already used it, but let me just show this one to you. I hope my screen is visible and you're looking at the time lapse on my screen. Yeah, I'm not showing you any of my personal windows. But this is one interesting thing that you see over here. I love sharing this with my kids and showing them that how the environment has changed over time and how things have changed. For instance, you just pick up so they have some stories which are already there, some case studies which are already there. So you come here and you want to show them that how irrigation or let's see how urban growth has been impacted in Myanmar. And it will start showing you at a speed of 0.5 times or 1 times or 1.5 times. That's your wish. So we are quite near to India now, and we're looking at somewhere in Myanmar. And let's wait. Internet may take some time to buffer itself. And if you see over here, there is a timeline below, which will start moving around. So now 1984, 99, 96, if I reduce the pace slightly and make it, I'm so sorry, I have to reduce. Yeah. If you see over here, slowly you can see each year how the complete civilization has changed or urban growth has happened in Myanmar. Now, while we talk about it, it's not that visible, but I think you can go deeper and you can just pick up an area and you can show. The same way you can bring up bushfires, or let me bring the glaciers. Glaciers is one interesting thing which we discussed with the kids. I hope you like what you're looking at. Google Earth can be an interesting tool to teach how, at a global level, all the bad practices of the environment are impacting Earth and impacting us. When you see over here, you see how starting, let me stop it at one place. So this is 1994, how the glaciers were looking at. But now, because of the melting, you will see again in 2000, let me stop at one place. This is 2022. You will see the amount of glaciers that have melted. Now, this is a slow process for you to start with. You cannot just start with it. If you want to go ahead and explore more, you just click on this. Okay, good, Pikashi. If they have opened it in parallel, I just love this tool. Now, this is like sea level rise and the fate of coastal cities. I thought I will show you this tool in my next session with you, but it's okay. So we keep on talking about that the sea level is rising, but can we show it to our kids in real time? That see, this is happening to sea level. You know, you making a drawing on the board and just showing them the sea level is rising is not going to create that stronger impact. But doing this will actually bring a greater impact. So let's take a look at it. If I have to show them that how the sea level is rising, what exactly I can do, I can just plan my tour cities. And let me just show you something. So if you see over here, you have this complete information on the right hand side, which talks about the sea level. This is a heavy website, to be honest. It takes time to buffer and it takes time for you to show anything. For some reason, the colors are not good. Let me see. No, it's not coming in that way, but it's okay. But I hope you got an idea. So that because she's actually looking on her own screen, so you can come here and you can actually look at all these websites. If you see over here, you have mapping of London's pollution, you have an urban expansion, you have sources of energy, and then you have talking about a lot of things which you can just come here and you can explore and you can create a complete lesson plan when you have it when you're teaching your kids. So while we were discussing all this with teachers, what I wanted to introduce to all of you was just talking about, everything that we are having these discussions right now about. I hope we brought some kind of fruitful information for all of you. I am not able to, just give me a second. Yeah. So I hope there was some kind of fruitful information that you were able to have while we were discussing all these areas. And let me show you this back again, if you're looking at it. And I hope you are just looking at my desktop screen too. Yeah. Okay. So I hope you can look at right now. You are looking at the screen too that I've shared with you. And when we are about to come to the session end, it's more about that the introduction of the environment can be more with the help of case studies, and you can have this discussion with your children in the classroom. So thank you, teachers, and thank you very much. If you have any questions, I would like to pick up on those questions right away and share my views with you. Vandana, do we have any queries?
Not as of now, ma'am. So,
So
teacher,
I'm considering all of you are very much clear. I think environment is such a personal topic to all of us that we don't need as such any kind of education on it. We are already aware about it. We just need discussion that we can do. Any specific teaching strategies? Vaishnavi has this question that any specific teaching strategies. Vaishnavi, to be honest, I always feel that if you talk about environment, just by reading through the book and not sharing examples or case studies, you will never create a greater impact because everyone thinks that nothing wrong will happen to me. But if you start sharing case studies with the kids and start sharing situations, talking about Bhopal gas tragedy or or different other tragedies which have happened in past and discuss about it, or the Gujarat earthquakes that we discussed, if you start talking about them, or the recent landslides which have happened in the state of Himachal, you start talking about these examples and showcasing the images and then discussing that what went wrong at all levels, I think they will participate more. That's the only thing which I can say. The rest, everything is available around them. Okay, so Himanshi's question is more for Vandana. Okay, that's all. Thank you, Patarni, and thank you, people who have joined on YouTube. Thank you very much. Thank you. I think, Vandana, I'm good.
yes, ma'am. So this is good to go. Thank you. Thank you so much, ma'am. So thank you, ma'am, for taking up this session again. And thank you, teachers, for attending this session. Hope this session provided you with valuable insight and was informative as well. So we have pasted the chat box in the feedback form link in the chat box. I would request everyone to please do share the feedback form for this session. And again, next week, we are having a second session of this series, Reduce, Reuse, Recycle, Eco-Friendly Habits for Kids on 7th of March, again at the same time, 4 p.m. Regarding, we have received few queries regarding the certificates. So teachers, we will be sharing certificates towards the end of this series, around post 9th of March. So we'll be sharing certificates. For certificates, please do share the feedback form. Do fill the feedback form. Link is there in the chat box, or you can write to us at schools@cambridge.org. If you have any query regarding anything, you're not able to get the feedback form link or any other query, if you have, you can write to us at schools@cambridge.org. So thank you, Surbhi ma'am. Thank you, teachers, once again.